In the vibrant, thrumming halls of Talk Central Academy, the intrigue among the students was palpable. Their recent lesson on the resilience and ingenuity of humans had left them eager for more. The room buzzed with speculative chatter as they awaited Professor Zorax, whose stories of human cunning had turned skepticism into respect. As the professor entered, the room quieted, the air thick with anticipation. Today's lesson was to delve deeper into the history, exploring more of the human strategies that had baffled their technologically superior ancestors. "Welcome, students," began Professor Zorax, his voice resonating with the weight of history. "Today, we explore further into the resilience of humans, focusing on a particularly pivotal event, the Battle of Misty Ridge. The holograms flickered to life, displaying a rugged, fog-covered terrain, steep and foreboding. The students leaned in as the scene set was one where visibility was nearly zero, a condition humans used to their advantage. Misty Ridge was a key strategic location, one our ancestors believed crucial to control. Zorax continued, his tone imbued with a hint of admiration. But humans, with their intimate knowledge of the land, turned what seemed like a disadvantage into one of their greatest strengths. The holographic display showed human forces, small in number but fierce in spirit, using the dense fog to move unseen. They set traps and ambushes, making the terrain treacherous for the Talk invaders. Clix, who had been one of the more skeptical students, now showed a keen interest. "Professor, how could our ancestors not anticipate these guerrilla tactics?" he asked, his earlier disbelief replaced by a thirst for understanding. "A valid query, Clix," responded Zorax warmly. "It was arrogance. Our ancestors underestimated the humans, viewing them as technologically inferior. They failed to consider that what they lacked in technology, the humans compensated with creativity and an unparalleled mastery of their environment." The simulation illustrated this point vividly. Talk soldiers, advanced in armor and weaponry, were repeatedly outmaneuvered by humans who knew each whisper of the wind, each hidden path that the fog. As the battle dragged on, our forces found themselves ensnared in a quagmire of human making, said Zorax, the scenes showing increasingly desperate Talk attempts to gain ground, only to be met with relentless human resistance. One scene in particular captured the students' attention. A group of human defenders, vastly outnumbered, coordinated a series of strikes that sent a well-equipped Talk battalion into disarray. This encounter at Misty Ridge became a legend, Zorax concluded, the holograms dimming to give way to the solemnity of the lecture hall. "It is a testament to the human spirit, and a poignant reminder that in war, the greatest weapon is not the spear, but the mind behind it." As the lesson ended, the students were left to ponder the depths of human ingenuity. The session had not merely been a recount of battles past, but a profound reflection on the value of understanding and respecting one's adversary. This first part of their ongoing study into human combat history had only deepened the students' appreciation for strategic acumen, a lesson they would carry into their future as leaders, perhaps in battles, perhaps in diplomacy, in the sprawling expanse of the universe. In the next session, Professor Zorax promised to delve into the siege of Jade Harbor, where human resilience would again surprise their alien learners, shaping their understanding of strategy and conflict in the cosmic theater of war. The next session at Talk Central Academy, as the students settled, the holographic projectors hummed to life, casting images of a vast, sprawling seaside city, Jade Harbor. Its strategic importance was immediately apparent, a deep water port that had been a hub of trade and a crucial naval base. Jade Harbor was not just a military target, began Professor Zorax, his voice echoing in the hushed auditorium. It was a symbol of human tenacity. Our ancestors thought capturing it would break the human spirit. They were mistaken. The holograms showed a fleet of Talk warships approaching the harbor, their forms sleek and menacing against the backdrop. The initial bombardment was intense, reducing sections of the harbor to rubble. Yet, as the holograms shifted, the students saw that the humans were far from defeated. They had built extensive fortifications and underground bunkers, unseen from above, from which they could launch counterattacks. Clix, now deeply engrossed, leaned forward. "Professor, were our ancestors not aware of these fortifications?" he asked, puzzled by the apparent oversight. "Indeed, they were aware," Clix answered Zorax, a slight smile acknowledging the students' growth in understanding. But they grossly underestimated the effectiveness. The humans had adapted old mining tunnels beneath the city, creating a network so complex it turned what seemed like a straightforward siege into a protracted nightmare for our troops. The scene depicted human forces using these tunnels to move undetected, emerging behind talk lines to disrupt supply chains and isolate forward units. The city turned into a labyrinth of guerrilla warfare. As the siege wore on, our forces became bogged down, unable to secure a decisive victory, continued Zorax. The holograms illustrated the mounting frustration among the talk commanders as every attempt to advance was met with fierce resistance. The turning point came when the humans executed a daring night raid. The holograms vividly captured a small, highly trained human squad planting explosives on a crucial supply depot, detonating it and causing chaos within the talk logistical network. This raid was a masterpiece of timing and courage, remarked Zorax, admiration evident in his tone. It demonstrated the humans' understanding of the bigger strategic picture. They knew that breaking our supply line would force us to retreat. No matter our technological superiority, the aftermath of the raid was a gradual but inevitable pulling back of talk forces, their resolve shaken by the unyielding defense and strategic acumen of the humans. The siege of Jade Harbor became a symbol of human resilience, concluded Zorax as the holograms faded. It taught our ancestors a valuable lesson about the spirit of those they sought to conquer. Not merely to fight, but to understand and respect their adversaries' strength and strategy. As the students left the session, they discussed among themselves the layers of human strategy, the depth of their planning, and the courage they displayed in the face of a seemingly unbeatable opponent. Each story, each battle where humans turned their weaknesses into strengths, reshaped the young talk's perceptions of warfare and conflict. In their next meeting, Professor Zorax promised to explore the Battle of Frozen Peaks, another testament to human ingenuity, where the cold, unforgiving climate played as much a role in the conflict as the combatants themselves. The anticipation was nearly palpable as the students of Talk's Central Academy gathered once more. Professor Zorax, now respected as much for his storytelling prowess as his knowledge, prepared to delve into the Battle of Frozen Peaks, a stark contrast to the previous engagements in warmer, more forgiving climates. As the lights dimmed and the first holograms illuminated the room, the students saw a harsh, unforgiving landscape of snow and ice. Frozen Peaks, a critical strategic location due to its mineral resources and its challenging terrain. Here, at Frozen Peaks, the conditions themselves were adversaries as formidable as any army, began Professor Zorax, his voice capturing the chill of the depict. Our ancestors believed the severe cold and brutal winds would be to their advantage, given their technological adaptations to extreme environments. However, the humans had other plans. The holographic imagery showed human forces, dressed in white camouflage, using the snow and blizzards to mask their movements. They had adapted old mining equipment to create heat signatures that misled talk thermal scanners, a simple yet effective ruse. Virix, a student who had been following the series closely, raised a question. Professor, could our ancestors not have adjusted their scanners to differentiate between false and real heat signatures? A keen observation, Virix, replied Zorax with an approving nod. They tried, indeed, but the humans continuously evolved their tactics. As soon as we adapted, they introduced new methods of deception. It was a game of cat and mouse. In the most literal sense, the battle began with a series of hit-and-run attacks by the humans. The holograms displayed small squads of human fighters emerging from snowdrifts and ice caves, striking quickly and retreating before the talk forces could effectively respond. The humans knew they could not withstand a prolonged fight against our superior weaponry, Zorax explained. So they chose to fight on their terms, quick, unpredictable strikes that leveraged the terrain and reduced visibility to their advantage. The turning point in the battle was depicted dramatically in the holograms. During a particularly fierce blizzard, human forces executed a strategic feint that drew the main body of talk forces into a narrow pass. Here, they used the environment as a weapon, said Zorax, pointing to the holographic snow-laden cliffs. At a critical moment, the humans triggered an avalanche with carefully placed explosives, burying a significant portion of the talk forces under tons of snow and ice. The Battle of Frozen Peaks was not just a physical confrontation. It was a psychological one, Zorax continued. The humans showed us that understanding and using the environment effectively could level the playing field against a technologically superior foe. As the session concluded, the students were left reflecting on the ingenuity of human strategy, their ability to turn disadvantages into advantages, and the importance of psychological warfare. The Battle of Frozen Peaks had not only been a testament to human resilience, but also to their profound understanding of warfare as more than just a clash of arms. It was a battle of wits and will. As the holographic displays lit up, the students saw the sprawling landscape of Grey Valley, a strategically vital region due to its rich deposits of selenium, an element critical for energy production. The valley, previously occupied by talk forces, was marked by deep gorges and towering cliffs, making it a fortress against conventional attacks. Grey Valley represents a turning point in the human resistance, began Professor Zorax, his voice filled with the gravity of the events he was about to recount. Here, humans not only fought with weapons, but with words, aligning themselves with the Galactic tribes. Indigenous to this region, the holograms shifted to show the diverse terrain of Grey Valley, then zoomed in on a series of clandestine meetings between human leaders and Galactic chieftains. The students watched intently as holographic representations of these negotiations played out. Trust was hard-earned, Zorax continued. The Galactics had been neutral, suffering under our occupation. The humans offered them a partnership based on respect and mutual benefit, promising to restore their lands post-conflict. The scene shifted to the onset of the liberation. Human and Galactic forces, now allies, coordinated their attacks using the valley's complex geography to their advantage. Human technology combined with Galactic knowledge of the terrain presented a formidable challenge to the occupying talk forces. Clix, now deeply engaged in every session, raised a question. Professor, how did our forces respond to this unexpected alliance? Zorax nodded at the astute question, initially with confusion and underestimation. Our commanders were slow to adapt, clinging to the belief that technological superiority would prevail against guerrilla tactics and local knowledge. The holograms illustrated this point vividly, depicting a series of skirmishes where talk forces, despite their advanced weaponry, were ambushed. The visuals showed Galactic warriors using the rugged landscape to launch surprise attacks, while human forces executed precision strikes against key infrastructure, crippling the talk supply lines. As the campaign progressed, the synergy between human ingenuity and Galactic bravery began to take a toll on our forces, explained Zorax. The holographic display showed a critical battle where combined human Galactic forces reclaimed a major energy plant, turning the tide of the conflict in Grey Valley. This victory was not just tactical, but symbolic. It demonstrated the power of unity and the strength of diverse alliances in warfare, Zorax emphasized. The classroom was wrapped with attention as the implications of these events were discussed. The discussion then shifted to the psychological impact of the liberation. The success in Grey Valley boosted the morale of human forces across the planet and sent a clear message to other occupied territories, Zorax explained. It galvanized further resistance, showing that the Talk Empire was not invincible. Virax, intrigued by the broader strategic impact, asked, did this change how our ancestors approached other conflicts? Indeed, it did, replied Zorax. The liberation of Grey Valley forced a reevaluation of our strategies. It highlighted the need to understand and respect the cultures and people we engaged with, not merely to dominate them. As the session drew to a close, the students were left to reflect on the lessons of Grey Valley. They discussed not just the military strategies, but the importance of alliances, understanding local cultures, and the power of diplomacy in conflict. For the next session, Professor Zorax promised to explore the aftermath of Grey Valley, focusing on how the liberation affected broader interstellar politics and the eventual peace negotiations that reshaped the relationships between humans, Galactics, and the Talk Empire. This deeper dive would not only cover the strategic recalibrations, but also the humanitarian efforts and reconstructions that followed the conflict, providing a comprehensive view of the war's long-term impacts on all involved. The upcoming lesson promised to be as enlightening as it was profound, preparing the students to think critically about the complex tapestry of interstellar relations and conflict resolution. The holographic projectors came to life. The imagery depicted a landscape scarred by battle but bustling with activity, humans and Gralix working side by side, rebuilding what had been lost and forging a new future together. Today, we explore the profound effects of the liberation of Grey Valley, began Professor Zorax, his voice echoing solemnly through the hall. This chapter is not just about military victory, but about the enduring spirit of cooperation that arose from the ashes of conflict. The holograms shifted to show various reconstruction efforts, Gralix overseeing the rebuilding of their ancestral homes, humans engineering new infrastructure, and joint ventures that were once unthinkable. The visual narrative highlighted the mutual respect and shared goals that had replaced former hostilities. As the physical landscape healed, so too did the political. Zorax continued. The liberation led to significant shifts in policy within the Talk Empire. Our leaders, once proud and unyielding, began to recognize the value of diplomacy and cultural exchange. The scene transitioned to a series of diplomatic meetings with representatives from the human factions, the Gralix, and the Talks. These discussions, once tense and fraught with distrust, now showed signs of genuine collaboration and a shared desire for lasting peace. Here, in the wake of war, we witnessed the birth of new alliances, said Zorax, pointing to the holographic diplomats signing treaties and exchanging cultural artifacts as symbols of their newfound bonds. These treaties not only secured peace but also opened avenues for trade, cultural exchanges, and joint scientific endeavors. The students watched, captivated, as the narrative showcased interstellar trade routes being established, cultural festivals celebrating both human and Grallic traditions, and collaborative research programs that aimed to benefit all species involved. The impact of these changes was profound and far-reaching, Zorax emphasized. The war had taught us all a crucial lesson. The strength of an empire does not lie solely in its military might, but in its ability to adapt, learn, and coexist. As the session neared its conclusion, the room was filled with a reflective silence. The students were deeply moved by the transformations they witnessed, understanding more fully the complexities of war and peace. But as they prepared to leave, a sudden shift in the holographic display caught everyone's attention. The serene scenes of cooperation and progress flickered and changed, giving way to urgent news feeds and emergency broadcasts. Students, an unexpected development, announced Professor Zorax, his calm demeanor giving way to concern. The holograms now showed a series of mysterious and widespread disruptions across various human and Grallic colonies, communications blackouts, unexplained power failures, and reports of unknown vessels sighted in restricted space zones. This is not part of our scheduled lesson, but it appears we are witnessing unfolding events that may well test the resilience and unity we have just discussed, Zorax stated, his voice steady yet urgent. It seems that our study of history is about to intersect with our present reality. The classroom, once filled with the reflective quiet of a lesson concluded, was now abuzz with tension and concern. The students, trained in the history of their forebears' mistakes and victories, found themselves on the cusp of a real-time crisis that echoed the past conflicts they had studied. As the holograms continued to display live updates, the implications were clear. Whatever was happening could not only jeopardize the fragile peace that had been so hard won, but also offer a true test of the lessons they had learned about unity, strategy, and the complex dance of interstellar politics. The session ended not with the usual closure, but with a cliffhanger, leaving everyone anxious and poised for action, their academic pursuits suddenly colliding with a potential new chapter in the very history they had been studying. This development promised to be not just a lesson, but a lived experience, an unforgettable moment that would require all their knowledge, courage, and unity to navigate. In the next session, as future leaders and strategists, began Zorax, his voice resonant with a mix of gravity and encouragement. You are now witnessing firsthand the unpredictability of interstellar relations. Today, we use our session to strategize, to prepare, and to unite in the face of this emerging threat. The holograms flickered, displaying a tactical map of the affected regions. Red markers indicated the locations of disturbances, communication blackouts, power outages, and sightings of unidentified vessels. Each marker was a puzzle piece in a larger, "Let us first assess the situation," Zorax directed, pointing to the clusters of disturbances along trade routes and strategic outposts. These are not random events. The pattern suggests a coordinated effort, an intelligent design behind these disruptions. The students, energized by the immediacy of the challenge, began to offer analyses. Ideas flew back and forth, some suggesting reconnaissance missions, others proposing diplomatic channels to ascertain intentions and seek peaceful resolutions. "Consider our history," Zorax interjected, guiding the brainstorming session with a steady hand. "What have we learned from the past conflicts with humans and Gralix? Unity, understanding, and strategic patience have been our greatest tools." The holograms shifted again to display live feeds from the affected colonies. In one, a human settlement was shown working feverishly to restore their power grid under the protective watch of Gralic warriors. In another, emergency meetings between human and Talk representatives were taking place, their expressions serious, but not without hope. "This is the spirit of the Grey Valley Accords in action," remarked Zorax, highlighting the cooperation. "Even now, faced with uncertainty, our communities strive to support each other, to find solutions together." But as they watched, another urgent update flashed across the display. A large, unidentified vessel had entered a critical zone near a major trade hub, its intentions unclear, its origin unknown. The room tensed, the stakes visibly higher. "Here is our challenge," said Zorax, his voice firm. "How do we respond? Do we escalate to defend, or do we reach out to understand? Your thoughts as the future of our empire are crucial." Debate ensued with passionate yet thoughtful arguments. Some students leaned towards defensive measures, citing the need to protect lives and maintain security. Others advocated for cautious engagement, fearing that misinterpretation could lead to unnecessary conflict. As the session progressed, a consensus began to form, a balanced approach that combined readiness to defend with efforts to communicate and understand. Teams were formed on the spot, each tasked with developing specific strategies, one for defense, one for communication, and one for intelligence gathering. "Excellent," nodded Zorax, approving of their initiative. "Let's proceed with these plans, ensuring that our responses are measured, our actions informed, and our intentions clear." As the Academy mobilized, the sense of a theoretical exercise had completely vanished. The students were living their lessons in real time, applying historical insights to contemporary crises, their education a direct line to their actions. The session drew to a close not with a traditional academic summary, but with a mission set forth. The students were not just passive recipients of history. They were active participants in its making. "Remember," Zorax concluded, his eyes sweeping over the room of now determined faces, "the outcomes of today will be the history lessons of tomorrow. Let's ensure it's a history that speaks of our wisdom, courage, and unity." As they dispersed, the excitement was mingled with a sense of responsibility. Each student felt the weight of the moment, the thrill of challenge, and the drive to make a difference. The stage was set for a resolution that would echo through their lives and the annals of their academy, a climax to their educational journey that would define their very legacy. This is the final session at Talk Central Academy. Now, as they gathered for the last time under Professor Zorax's guidance, the focus was on resolution and reflection. "The actions we've taken, the strategies we've developed, and the unity we've shown have all led to this moment," began Professor Zorax, his voice echoing deeply in the now familiar lecture hall. The holograms displayed a live feed of the major trade hub, where the unidentified vessel had been a looming threat. "Through diligent effort and strategic communication, we have identified the vessel as not a threat, but an exploratory ship from a distant and previously unknown civilization," Zorax revealed, the relief palpable in his tone. The holographic images shifted to show a peaceful encounter between the Talk representatives and the new alien delegates. "This encounter could have turned into a conflict," Zorax continued, "but because of our balanced approach, it has instead opened the door to dialogue and potential alliances. This is the power of informed strategy and patient diplomacy." The students watched as the first diplomatic exchanges took place, their own plans and suggestions having paved the way for these historic moments. The talks were tentative but promising, with both sides expressing a desire for peaceful coexistence and mutual understanding. "Let us reflect on the journey we have undertaken," Zorax said, turning the session into a retrospective of their semester. From the historical battles of human resilience at Misty Ridge and Jade Harbor to the real-time crisis management that tested your skills and spirits, you have all grown not just in knowledge, but in wisdom and depth. The holograms took the students back through their lessons, highlighting the key moments where human ingenuity and the spirit of cooperation had overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. Each recap brought nods of recognition and quiet smiles of satisfaction from the students. "Now, as we conclude, remember that the lessons learned here are not confined to the past or to this classroom," Zorax advised. "They are applicable to the vast expanse of the cosmos. Wherever your journeys may take you." The closing moments were filled with a ceremonial feel. Professor Zorax congratulated the students on their accomplishments, not just academically, but in their growth as future leaders. Applause filled the room, not just for the professor's guidance, but for each other's support and collaboration throughout the term. As the students began to file out of the lecture hall for the last time, there was a sense of completion, but also a beginning. They had not only learned about history, they had lived it and influenced its course. The crisis had bonded them in unexpected ways, and they knew that whatever challenges awaited them in their future careers, the lessons from Talk Central Academy would remain a guiding light. "Your journey does not end here," Zorax called out as they exited. "It begins anew, with each of you carrying forward the torch of knowledge, diplomacy, and unity. Go forth and shape the universe, not just as commanders or diplomats, but as wise, thoughtful beings who seek to understand first and act with purpose." The final session had ended, but for the students of Talk Central Academy, a lifetime of challenges and opportunities lay ahead. They stepped out into the galaxy, not just as graduates, but as crucial players in the ongoing narrative of interstellar relations, ready to apply their lessons in ways they had only begun to imagine. Their story, born from simulated battles and real crises, would continue to unfold across the stars, a testament to their education, their resolve, and their unyielding spirit of exploration and cooperation.